So right now, the United States is in a little bit of trouble. And the reason why is really simple. President Putin of Russia is waiting for President-elect Donald Trump to become in charge of the United States. Right now, the problem, though, is President Biden is still in charge. And he is making the decisions to give Ukraine the ability to put anti-personnel mines in Russia, to use, or really in Ukraine against Russian soldiers, also to launch ballistic missiles into, actually long-range missiles, into Russia as well. This is a huge escalation of war. Well, guess what? Putin understands this. That's why he's bringing in North Korea, and China is even concerned about what's really going to happen over the next few months. So I'm going to break down what is going on at this time, how President-elect Donald Trump is incredibly concerned about the escalation of war, but what this means for you and I moving forward. So I'll break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So people in the United States need to be concerned because this war between Russia and Ukraine could continue. And as it continues, it will look more and more likely that the United States was at fault, that we continue to give Ukraine weaponry and Ukraine fired it at Russia, and Russia would say that the U.S. is at fault. Look at this. It says Trump is incredibly concerned about escalation of munitions in Russia-Ukraine conflict, according to an aide. That was just from yesterday. Donald Trump is extremely concerned because he vowed from the beginning that he could end this war on day one of him being president. And guess what? It's looking very likely. However, there's a problem. The problem is President Biden and the Biden administration. They are making things worse for Ukraine and Russia, but also for the United States as we get closer to Inauguration Day, which is January 20th, 2025. But guess what? It's not just the U.S. Look at this right here. It says Europe is under attack from Russia. Why isn't it fighting back? It says Western countries have shied away from reacting to Kremlin acts of sabotage and terror. Now, what you need to understand, nobody wants to fight Russia. Russia is fighting a battle in which they think they can't lose. Okay? Russia not only lost tens of thousands of troops early on in this war. Again, this war has been going on for over 2 years. But they lost tens of thousands of troops early on in this war. Guess what? They have to use North Korean troops just to accommodate for what they're attempting to do, to rebuild. And now Russia had to give North Korea, some nuclear powers, some according to reports, potentially submarines. Right? They're changing pretty much the world powers at this time. But I want you to listen to something, okay? And I'm going to show you this in a minute. But first, look at this. It says Taiwan's former president says Ukraine needs U.S. weapons more urgently than Taipei. It says the former president comments come after a top U.S. military leader said supplying U.S. weapons to Kyiv was cutting into stockpiles that could be used in a war in Asia. Now, that is one of the things that the U.S. has always been concerned with is what about when China attempts to invade Taiwan? What happens then? Well, here's the problem. The United States is so spread out. Our military is so spread out. We got ships over in the Red Sea. We got people over in the Middle East. Right? We got, we're sending, massive amounts of weapons and aid to Ukraine. But we're not replenishing what we are sending out. Our stockpile is actually becoming depleted. Every single day, it's being depleted. We aren't building on it. And that's where experts say that when China comes knocking and wants to invade Taiwan, the U.S. is not going to be as helpful as we could have been 2 to 3 years ago. Now, we are much less, we're not very scary. Listen to this, though. I want to play you this clip. Listen to this right here.
Jake Sullivan and I have had discussions. We've met. For our adversaries out there that think this is a time of opportunity, that they can play one administration off the other, they're wrong. And we are hand in glove. We are one team with the United States in this transition.
Now, I do want to say one thing really quick, okay? He's saying that they're one team, hand in glove with the Biden administration on national security. Now, here's the problem. They may be discussing, they may be talking about this, but what we are now facing is that the Biden administration is making moves that it seems like the Trump administration would not make, okay? Now, and I bring this up because, again, we're less than 2 months away from the inauguration, which means Donald Trump will be president in less than 2 months. But right now, it seems like the Biden administration is making changes, and these changes are impacting the possibility of a peace deal in about 2 months. So we're going to see what happens. Let's keep watching this.
How about that? Waltz also says the incoming Trump administration is focused on bringing the war in Ukraine to an end.
Well, the president-elect has been very concerned about the escalation and where it's all going. Our allies have now, extended the range of their missiles as well. So we need to bring this to a responsible end. We need to restore deterrence, restore peace, and get ahead of this escalation ladder rather than responding to it.
It's pretty simple. Get ahead of it rather than responding to it. That's the key. Now, let's talk about that. Let's talk about responding to something. Look at this. It says North Korea warns U.S. of thermonuclear war. What we are facing right now is it's very interesting. We got North Korea threatening us with a thermonuclear war. We got Russia saying that nuclear weapons could be used at any time. Okay, China has pretty much stayed out of all of this mess over the past couple of months. What we are going to face over the next probably 3 to 6 months will be interesting. Will Donald Trump be able to change this? Will he be able to negotiate a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine? Based off what we are hoping for here in the U.S., we're hoping for a deal. Now, does this impact us, in our day-to-day lives? That's what somebody was asking me the other day. Are we seeing a big change because of what Russia and Ukraine are doing? And the fact of the matter is, yes, we are. And it has to do with oil prices. It has to do with gas prices, right? They're causing food prices to go up. Shipping costs are getting more expensive. Just to get regular products, it's more expensive. That's what we're facing. So yes, if we can negotiate a deal soon, this would bring prices down. Now, I want to play something else for you. Listen to this.
Is it up to the President of the United States to determine an end to a war between Russia and Ukraine? And if so, what does a responsible end to this war look like?
Well, it's just one of many very wickedly complex national security challenges that the Biden administration is leaving behind for the incoming Trump administration. I think the key question is, where do we get leverage over Russia to induce the Russians to stop raining down hell on Ukrainian civilians? Remember, Russia started this war. Their goal was to topple the government in Ukraine and create a puppet regime that would support the Kremlin. And right now, the key question for us is how we stop the Russians.
So that's the big key. What kind of leverage can the United States gain to stop Russia from continuing to invade and attack Ukraine? That's what nobody knows. What leverage is there? Well, right now the Biden administration doesn't have answers. They are going to simply just sit back, let Ukraine do what they wish to just protect themselves. And then the Biden administration will step out, the Trump administration will step in, and then we could potentially see a change. But according to reports, the Trump administration is planning to negotiate this deal long before Inauguration Day. Then, on day one, he will make the change. He will ensure that this war is over, or at least according to the Trump administration. So we'll see what happens, but it could be good news or it could be bad news. We'll have to see what happens in less than 2 months, but that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.